Hey, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can subscribe. There's a menu of options, so click the join button, and you can see, the different shows that you can subscribe to and choose whatever you care to choose. But we appreciate any kind of patronage you can give us, so Shane can keep eating macaroni and cheese out of the box. He's learning how to sprinkle the cheese powder on his tongue before he chews on the hard macaroni. So he needs to buy another case of that. If you are watching as a Patreon patron, thank you. And the easiest thing to do if you don't have any money is link your Twitch Prime account, your Amazon Prime account. So 3 ways to get us money. Patreon costs money. Joining and subscribing via YouTube costs money, but we appreciate it. Twitch Prime doesn't. Today's question from SIFTD from SJD Swanland. What's your take on the whole Epic versus Apple debacle? I've been following it on Twitter, and it's not looking good for Epic. There are Sherman Antitrust, Clayton Antitrust, and the Securities and Exchange Acts of 1933 and 1934 that govern anti-competitive behavior. And the emphasis is 1890 was Sherman. I think Clayton was like 1910 or 05 or something, and then 1933 and 34. So we're talking like 100 years ago. So obviously, when these acts are congressional acts, when Congress got together and passed laws about antitrust, they weren't thinking about internet and app stores and access to app stores and fees charged, because those things just didn't exist. They were thinking about Standard Oil and how Standard Oil owned all the oil in all the gas stations in the country and was price fixing potentially. And that thinking got extended to AT&T that owned all the landline phones and could charge whatever it wanted. And so those antitrust laws were used, trust meaning that the big companies owned everything and they broke them up. They busted the trust. They kind of all colluded together because they were owned by the same people to raise prices. And so the rule is that a company cannot engage in what's called anti-competitive behavior by virtue of its size. You can't do it, period, but by virtue of its size. And so anti-competitive behavior says we're going to charge consumers more because we have a monopoly than we would if we had competition. It's honestly that simple. So think about, I'll give you a real easy example, your cell phone. You have a choice of phones and you have a choice of carriers. So with your cell phone, in the US, you can get Verizon or you can get AT&T or you can get Sprint, just got bought by T-Mobile. T-Mobile, you've got, and you can get a bunch of pay-as-you-go services. So it's got to be a dozen different choices, but at least 3 big guys. And with Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile/Sprint out there, nobody can say, sorry, your cell phone's $300 a month, which, by the way, I used to pay. And with competitive services, I now pay $150 a month for 4 phones, unlimited. So, that's what you get with competition. You have a lot of people trying to compete and get you services. Think about streaming services, Hulu and Amazon Prime and Netflix and CBS All Access and Disney Plus and Peacock and HBO Max. It's kind of like, it used to be just Netflix. Could they raise the price to $20 and nobody would blink? Sure. How about now? Because Disney Plus is $6.99. Hard to do because there's competition. Think about burgers. There's tons and tons of burger joints and they all have dollar menus. Why? Because as soon as one guy had it, he started gaining market share. Who benefits from a dollar menu? You do. Because you can go to Taco Bell and get 4 tacos for $4 instead of $2 a taco at Del Taco. So Del Taco has the dollar menu as well. Consumer wins. Competition means consumer wins. So Epic's lawsuit against Apple says Apple has a quasi-monopoly on the App Store because your only 2 options really are the App Store and Google Play, the Android store. And they both, not so coincidentally, charge 30%. And so what Epic did was they said, we have this game, Fortnite, it's our game. We have currency in our game called V-Bucks. Apple charges $10 for V-Bucks and they give us $7 and they keep 30%. we'll sell you 100 V-Bucks for $8. So you, the consumer, we're going to pass through 20% savings if you buy it directly from us on the Epic Store. Apple's response, we're booting all Fortnite players off of the Apple Store, off of Apple, off the platform. We're not allowing any updates to the game. Now, how many people spend money in Fortnite? Answer is a lot, but how many people spend money on mobile who play Fortnite? And the answer is probably 8%. And my number, I don't know. It's not 50. I mean, my guess is that of Fortnite players, 20%, maybe 25% spend money, but not on the phone. Because remember, the game is cross-platform. So you can buy your V-Bucks on your PC, or you can buy them on your Xbox, and then you can boot up on your phone and play. And by the way, what happens when you buy on the Xbox and then you boot up on your phone and you play and you use your V-Bucks on the phone? Apple doesn't charge a royalty then. So it's okay to sell it on the Xbox store. And then use them on the App Store, or the iOS. But it's not okay to buy them on the Epic Store and use them on iOS. And that is anti-competitive. And it's only because Epic said, buy them here and we'll give you a discount. And Apple doesn't want it discounted. So is Apple's behavior anti-competitive? You bet your ass it's anti-competitive. A lot of people call this David versus Goliath. This is mini me versus Goliath. This is mini Goliath versus Goliath. This cannot cost Epic, no prayer, more than $100 million a year in legal fees. No chance. Probably 10. But let's call it 100. They make $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion. They don't care. The solution for Apple, there's a couple. They could have said, all right, we're going to roll everybody who plays Fortnite back to the night before Epic made this announcement. We're going to freeze their accounts. We're going to take a snapshot of how many V-Bucks they have in their accounts, because those were clearly bought on Apple-approved sources like Xbox or PC or App Store. And once we know what those bucks are, no one's ever going to be able to spend any more V-Bucks than that, or new V-Bucks that they purchase on the App Store. They could have done that. And that might have alienated players, but at least they could play, right? They could have said that we'll boot off anybody who buys V-Bucks who shows up in our store, on our iOS. That's fine. But we're going to boot all the free players, and we're going to boot everybody who actually legitimately buys V-Bucks through the App Store, because we're going to punish everybody because Epic tried to give them a deal. Anti-competitive. Can't do it. Sorry. You cannot do it. And what Apple's argument is that 30% is not anti-competitive, and that's the going rate, and that's what it costs to run the store. Why do they mint so much money? It's not the going rate. And and again, if Apple didn't allow you, again, I don't know if you can actually spend V-Bucks earned elsewhere on the App Store, purchase elsewhere. What I do know is if you play on Xbox and you buy a leopard skin, or you buy a battle pass on Xbox, and you get skins and backpacks and gliders and shit, and then you show up on iOS, all your skins and backpacks and gliders and pickaxes show up on iOS, even though they were purchased elsewhere. How is that inconsistent with buying your V-Bucks on the Epic Store? And the thing I think that's really great is Apple, like I said, overreacted by booting everybody off. They overreacted by banning or refusing to provide SDKs, software development kits, to Unreal Engine developers, which again, punitive. And what does the Unreal Engine have to do with buying V-Bucks at the Epic Store? Oh, they're both owned by Epic. So that's like saying one model of a General Motors car pollutes, and so we're going to ban all General Motors cars from all roads. You can't do that. If one thing's unsafe, you can ban one. You can't ban them all, but Apple did. And then what a coinky-dink. 3 hours after Apple did it, Google did the same thing. That looks like collusion. Exactly the same response. We're going to ban all Fortnite from our platform. Dumb, 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 and anti-competitive. Epic's going to win. If you guys are watching on Patreon, thank you. If you are subscribing via YouTube, thank you. If you have linked your Twitch Prime account to your Amazon Prime account, thank you. And if you follow me on Twitter, thank you. We'll see you next time. And Shane, thank you, by the way, when you posted that I predicted Microsoft would buy Bethesda, back in 2018 or whatever year that was. So you can post this video in another 3 years or 4 years when Epic wins this lawsuit.